The first time I made pulled ham, I was blown away by the flavors. Think about pulled pork, but even better. And that's what we're gonna make today. Welcome to The Salted Pepper, where we cook for real life using real food and we keep it real simple. Today's recipe is simple, but it is a long cook time, whether you're gonna use the oven or your smoker. Either way you can do this recipe, but it is going to be a 4 to 6, maybe even 8 hour time frame to get the ham the way you want it for pulled ham. So first let me talk about the hams that I have here. These are both the butt end and they are not spiral sliced. That is important, especially on a smoker. You do not want to have spiral sliced ham because it's going to tend to dry out over the long, low and slow cooking times that we do. In the oven, you could probably get away with a spiral sliced ham because you would want to cover it with some sort of foil or something you would trap in steam so it wouldn't be as likely to dry out. So you could technically use a spiral ham, but you will have better results if you use a bone-in, unsliced ham like these are, okay? These are both the butt end. And in the grocery stores in the US, when you're looking for your ham and it's unsliced, look for shank or butt end. I recommend getting the butt end for this recipe because it is gonna give you a more tender, juicier pulled ham at the end. But you can use either one, okay? Now, when you're picking out your ham, you need to think, how am I gonna cook this? I am gonna smoke this on the Ninja Woodfire. So I like the double smoke, okay? This is already smoked ham because in the US, our hams are cured and smoked. So this already has smoke in it, but I really liked it when I double smoked it. But you could also do it in the oven. In the oven, you can get pretty much any size ham you want and adjust your timing according to the weight. In the wood fire, you need to get a ham that is as low profile as you can, especially in the original, the smaller version of the wood fire. If you have the XL, you have a little bit more room. So basically, as a guideline, you have about 4.5 inches from the grate up to the top of the ham. That's your clearance in the original wood fire. In the XL, I believe it is 5.5 inches. So you have a little bit more room, okay? So you can judge how, what size ham you want to get. I've done up to an 8-pound ham in the wood fire and I just cut it up. I mean, you can cut them into chunks. That is no problem for this recipe. But the butt end is kind of hard to cut because of the way the bone goes, okay? So it's kind of hard to cut them. Really, I mangled my first one. In fact, I've done this video already. I've already smoked this ham, right? And did the whole video, but I messed up the cutting so bad in the beginning. I was like, I'm doing this again. This is crazy. I'm gonna get a smaller ham. So what size ham do I have? So this one is about 7.5 pounds, just a little shy of 7.5 pounds. This one is just a tad bit over 6 pounds. I mean, a tad bit over, but you can see the shape is different. So this one is a little bit longer and I can fit it in my original wood fire. This one is a little bit, more round, but they are about the same height. So look for the lowest profile ham butt that you can find that is unsliced. Then the next thing you want to do is find a pan that your ham will fit in. What I'm using here is this is just a little pan. I think it's an 8x11, but you can get a little bit bigger of a one that will fit in there. Now I'm only gonna smoke one ham today. I'm only gonna do one pulled ham today. So I'm gonna choose to do this one because it's more weight, it's gonna give me more meat and it's the same height, so it doesn't matter. Now, I did measure. I'm gonna have to trim off a little bit, but that's okay. We're gonna show you how to do that. So once you have your pan ready and you know that your ham fits in the pan, we're ready to unwrap and get it cut down to where we need it to be so that the wood fire lid closes. Now, before we even get our ham cut and put into the pan and onto the smoker, the first thing you need to do is decide what pellets you're gonna use. For this recipe, I'm gonna use peach pellets because I am making a peach barbecue sauce to go with my pulled ham. You could use any pellets that you like. Apple goes great with ham, cherry goes great with ham, hickory, any type of pellets you want, you can pair it with your ham. No problems at all. To set up your wood fire for smoking your ham, make sure that the grill grate is inserted, then open up the pellet box and dump in your pellets, go over to the display, select smoker function, select 225 degrees Fahrenheit for the temperature, and then go up to 8 hours and 15 minutes and hit start. You do not have to hit the ignite button on the smoker function. It will automatically ignite. In fact, if you do hit the ignite button, you may end up undoing your ignition, okay? Some models will actually cancel the ignition if you hit the ignite button, which is the Woodfire flavor button on the front of the display, if you are on the smoker mode, okay? So no need to hit that. Then we're gonna let those pellets ignite. They're gonna put off a lot of heavy white smoke. That is why I let it go through the ignition process and another 15 minutes before I put the ham on. All right, back to the ham. So let me get this out of the package, and then I'm just gonna trim off a little bit here from the top, okay? And hope I don't encounter that pesky bone. Now, if you're in a different country, your hams might be a little bit different because a lot of times they are called gammon. I think in the UK, that's the word, gammon. And they're not cooked. They are raw. You could still do this recipe. You would just treat it like pulled pork, right? But in the US, our hams are completely cooked. All right, this is the highest point here, and I only need to go down about 1/2 of an inch. So I'm just gonna take this right off here. And that should do the trick. And I'm not gonna throw this away. I'm gonna tuck it right in there. And that should do it. So now I'm gonna put the ham in. I don't rub the ham. You could, but the ham's already salty, okay? Because it's already smoked, cured, it's already salty. I don't season it. So, I mean, you could put pepper on it if you wanted, I guess. I would not put salt on it though. All right, let's go and check on the smoker and get this ham on there to smoke for about 6 to 7 hours. And here we go, the pulled ham. So let me do a little recap so that you can know exactly what timing I did, how many times I filled the hopper box and all that good stuff. So this was in the smoker at 225 degrees Fahrenheit on the smoke function with the peach pellets going for a total of 5 hours. And at that time, I was getting some readings up in the 199 range in the smaller areas of the ham. Over where it's a little bit bigger here, they were a little bit less, and that's perfectly fine, that's normal. So what I did was I started to pull it apart and I tasted for the smoke. I wanted to see, was it smoky enough? And it was. Oh my gosh, it was so delicious. I also at that time poured over about 3/4 of a cup of peach juice from a can of peaches. And I had made barbecue sauce. This is a peach barbecue sauce. And I had that left over. And it's really delicious to add in to the ham. So I increased the temperature of the smoker. I stayed on the smoker function, increased it to 350 degrees and covered it with foil. Then I just let it cook for another 45 minutes until I was getting readings on this side up into the 200s. Now it's been sitting here for a little bit, so I'm not sure exactly where it's gonna read. It's reading about 195, but out there it was reading about 199, and that is perfect. Now I could pull this in this pan, but it's a little small, right? So even when I was pulling it outside with my tongs on the grill itself, I was spilling some over, which was no big deal because I just ate those pieces. It was delicious. But for this, I'm gonna go ahead and transfer it to a bigger pan and then I'll get it pulled and I'll show you how I like to serve it. The other thing I wanna say is I kept the pellets burning for the entire 5 hours that this ham was cooking. And I did that because that's how much smoke I like. You don't have to do that if you don't want to. Usually what I try to do is catch the hopper when it goes down about 50%, so the pellets are 50% burned. And then I make sure that they are smoking really well in there. And I even look to see if they're glowing a little bit. And then I add in the rest of the pellets. So I'll top them off essentially. The heat and the burning pellets underneath will ignite the ones on top and you don't have to hit the ignite button. However, with this one, I let it go a little too long. And at one point during that 5-hour smoke time, I did have to hit the ignite button to reignite the pellets. And you know what? It didn't do anything. It didn't impart any bitterness or anything into the ham because I already tasted it when I started to pull it out on the smoker. It is beautiful. So don't worry about that. If that happens to you, you don't have to pull your ham off and go through the ignition process with no food on there. If you're worried about it though, you can always just cover it with foil while you're going through the ignition process and then remove that foil after you let that heavy smoke out. All right, let's see what we can do here to get this moving along. So now this is coming apart just beautifully. I just love this. It's gonna be easier for me to put this on my cutting board. So I'm gonna do that in just a second. You also could be smarter than me and let it cool down so that you can actually do it with your hands. It really is much easier to do it that way. But we're making do here. All right, that looks good. Now we're left with the ham bone, and I took out a little bit here that had a bone on it. Now don't throw this away. Let this cool and put it in your freezer until you want to make ham and bean soup or some other kind of, ham and cabbage or something like that. This is gonna add delicious flavor. Now we've got some juices in the bottom here. I'm gonna pull this. I'm gonna let it cool down a minute. I'm gonna do it with my hands, and then we're gonna pour these juices over it, and we will get it served up and make our sandwich with the peach barbecue sauce. I cannot even begin to tell you how good this smells and tastes. It is absolutely amazing. All right, so let's make up a sandwich. Now, I like to put these on Hawaiian rolls, whether they're little sliders or full size, that's totally up to you. I don't even have it toasted, and I'm just gonna grab a pile here of the pulled ham, put a little bit of the barbecue sauce on. This is the peach barbecue sauce. And here we go, pulled ham. Oh my gosh. And I already know because I tasted the meat, it's not overly smoked. So don't worry about doing a double smoke. It's not overly smoked at all. Oh my gosh. This is so good. It is so tender. Oh my gosh. Oh wow. Oh my word. These are the perfect flavor combinations with the sweet roll, the pulled ham, the peach barbecue sauce. This is simply amazing. You are absolutely gonna love this way. And it's a new way to make ham. And you don't need a smoker, don't worry about it. If you don't have a smoker, you're not gonna get the dark bark, that's okay. Just put it in your oven, like I said at the beginning of the video, and leave it there until it's fall apart tender, which will be about 200 degrees Fahrenheit. Then pull it, make up the peach barbecue sauce, and serve it just like that. It's going to be delicious.